Welcome back, and thank you for tuning into Cheating Tales Lab. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know, what part of the world are you watching from right now? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story. The acrid smell of motor oil hung heavy in the air as Melvin Richards slid out from under the 2008 Toyota Camry. His coveralls bore the fresh stains of another honest day's work, joining the constellation of old grease marks that no amount of washing could remove. The clock on the garage wall read 6:47 p.m., another late evening at Richards Auto Repair. "Hey boss, you want me to lock up?" Carlos, his youngest mechanic, called from the front office. Melvin wiped his hands on a red shop rack. "Go ahead. I've got some paperwork to finish up." The familiar routine played out as his employees filed out one by one. The hydraulic lifts lowered with tired hisses, tool drawers clicked shut, and the ambient noise of the shop faded into evening silence. Only then did Melvin unlock his office door, closing it carefully behind him. Behind the filing cabinet, obscured by a stack of repair manuals, sat his secret companion, a high-end laptop that seemed out of place among the grease-stained work orders and parts catalogs. The screen came to life, displaying a series of crypto trading charts he'd been monitoring throughout the day. "Come on, baby," he muttered, logging into his digital wallet. The familiar string of numbers and letters appeared. His Bitcoin address, holding what he considered his ticket to a better future. 10,000 of you. My little digital fortune." The sound of a car pulling up outside made him quickly minimize the window. Through the grimy office window, he watched Blanca's BMW slide into its usual spot. His wife's silhouette remained in the car for a moment, phone pressed to her ear. "No, Julian, I can't meet tonight." Her voice drifted through the thin walls as she walked past his office. "He's still here." "Yes, I know. Next week, I promise." Melvin's jaw tightened, but he kept his focus on the screen. The familiar ache in his chest had become a constant companion lately, much like the distance growing between him and his family. "Dad." Troy's voice startled him. His 16-year-old son stood in the doorway, designer sneakers carefully avoiding the shop floor's oil stains. "Mom says dinner's ready. Are you coming home, or what?" "Just finishing up some invoices," Melvin replied, closing the laptop. "How was school?" Troy's eyes barely met his. "Whatever. Just hurry up. Christine's got dance practice, and Mom needs to drop her off." The drive home was silent, save for the local radio station playing softly in his truck. The familiar streets of their modest Los Angeles neighborhood felt increasingly foreign lately, as if the life he'd built was slowly slipping through his oil-stained fingers. At home, Christine sat at the dining table, thumbing through her phone with the kind of focused disinterest only a 14-year-old could master. Blanca moved around the kitchen with practiced efficiency, her executive assistant persona still firmly in place. "The Hendersons called about their car," Melvin said, trying to break the silence. "Fascinating," Blanca replied, not looking up from plating the store-bought rotisserie chicken. "Troy, honey, how was your college counseling meeting?" Troy perked up. "Mr. Dyer says with my grades, I could definitely get into USC. He's got connections in the admissions office. Julian's been so helpful," Blanca beamed. "Such a successful man, and still makes time to mentor students." Melvin pushed his food around the plate. "I thought we agreed I'd handle Troy's college planning. I've been saving." "What, from fixing mufflers?" Christine snorted, finally looking up from her phone. "Mom says Mr. Dyer makes more in a day than you do in a month." "Christine," Blanca said softly, but there was no real reproach in her tone. Later that night, Melvin sat in his home office, really just a converted storage room, and pulled up his crypto wallet again. The numbers hadn't changed, but their potential burned brighter than ever. He tried explaining it to Blanca once, back when Bitcoin was first gaining traction. "It's the future of finance," he'd said excitedly. "Digital currency, completely decentralized." "Honey," she'd replied with that patronizing smile that had become her default expression, "stick to what you know. Cars need fixing, that's real. This internet funny money of yours? That's just fantasy." Now, as he checked the current Bitcoin price, a bitter smile crossed his face. His fantasy was worth more than Julian Dyer would make in 10 years. But nobody knew that. Not his dismissive wife. Not his embarrassed children, not even his best friend Oliver. The weight of his secret fortune pressed against him like a physical thing, tempting him to reveal it all. But something held him back. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was the growing suspicion that his family's love had become conditional on social status and bank balances. Either way, he kept his silence, letting the blue glow of the laptop screen illuminate his face in the darkness of his tiny office. A text message lit up his phone. "Hey man, we need to talk. That silver Mercedes is becoming a regular sight on your street. Oliver." Melvin closed his eyes, the pieces of his crumbling life shifting into an increasingly clear picture. The question wasn't if his world would shatter, but when, and whether his secret digital fortune would be his salvation or simply a front-row seat to watch it all fall apart. Oliver Fink's weathered pickup truck rattled into Richard's auto repair early Monday morning. He carried 2 cups of coffee from their favorite diner, a ritual spanning 20 years of friendship. The aroma of fresh dark roast cut through the ever-present scent of motor oil and rubber. "Black, 2 sugars," Oliver said, placing 1 cup on the workbench where Melvin was hunched over a transmission. "And something else you need to hear." Melvin straightened, his back cracking from hours bent over engines. "If it's about Mrs. Peterson's Volvo, I already ordered the parts. Not about cars." Oliver leaned against the workbench, his expression unusually serious. "Been meaning to tell you for days now. That silver Mercedes S-Class? Spotted it outside your place again last night. 3rd time this week." The wrench in Melvin's hand slipped, clattering against the concrete floor. He retrieved it slowly, buying time to steady his voice. "Probably one of Blanca's work friends. You know how she's been networking since the promotion? At 11 p.m.? Oliver's eyebrows rose. He pulled out his phone, showing a photo of the car. "Mel, I've been in this business 30 years. That's a 2024 Mercedes-Benz S580, custom order. Only one like it in this part of Ella." "How do you know that?" "Because it was in here last month. Guy needed an oil change. Wouldn't let anyone but me touch it." Oliver's voice softened. "Owner's name is Julian Dyer. Ring any bells?" Melvin's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips. The name hung in the air like exhaust fumes on a windless day. "Investment banker. Works at Bradford and Associates." "Yeah, real piece of work." Spent the whole time on his phone, talking about some deal worth millions. Oliver hesitated. Kept mentioning someone named Blanca. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Melvin absorbed this confirmation of his growing suspicions. A memory surfaced from last week's parent-teacher conference at Troy's school. Julian Dyer had been there, ostensibly to discuss college recommendations. The way Blanca laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, stood close enough for their shoulders to brush. It all clicked into place. "Dad!" Troy's voice echoed through the garage. Melvin turned to see his son striding in, wearing a Lakers jersey he didn't recognize as one they'd bought together. "Troy? You're supposed to be in school." "Forgot my history textbook at home. Mom said you could drive me back to get it." Troy glanced at his phone. "She's in meetings all day." Oliver caught Melvin's eye. "I'll finish up the Johnson transmission." The drive home was tense, Troy texting constantly. At a red light, Melvin glimpsed the screen. A group chat named Lakers Night. His son quickly angled the phone away. Inside the house, while Troy rummaged upstairs, Melvin noticed changes he'd been too preoccupied to see. New art on the walls. A designer briefcase by the door that wasn't his. A faint trace of unfamiliar cologne lingering in the air. "Found it," Troy called, thundering down the stairs. He paused halfway, phone pressed to his ear. "Yeah, I'm still coming. Mom says Mr. Dyer's getting courtside seats." "Dad?" "Nah, he's just giving me a ride." "He doesn't know." Melvin stood perfectly still, letting the whispered conversation wash over him. His son's voice dropped even lower. "Mom says she's working late again." "Yeah, the usual cover." "No." He's clueless. Palace tickets are like $1,000 each. He could never. "Seriously, Chris, Dad's such a—" The rest of the sentence was lost as Troy noticed his father standing there. An awkward silence filled the space between them. "Ready to go?" Melvin asked quietly. Back at the shop, Oliver was waiting. One look at Melvin's face told him everything. You remember that Bitcoin stuff you were into? Oliver asked suddenly. The digital money you tried explaining years ago? Melvin tensed. What about it? Just wondering if you ever did anything with it. Might be worth something now. For a moment, Melvin considered telling his oldest friend everything about the 10,000 Bitcoin, about the fortune he'd kept secret, about the power he held but never wielded. Instead, he picked up his wrench and slid back under the waiting car. Nah, he said, his voice echoing off the undercarriage. Just internet funny money, right? The rest of the day passed in a blur of oil changes and brake jobs. Every phone notification made him flinch, wondering if it was Blanca with another transparent lie about working late. Every car that pulled into the lot had him checking if it was a silver Mercedes. At closing time, Oliver lingered. Want to grab a beer? Talk about. Can't. Melvin cut him off, already heading to his office. Got paperwork. But instead of invoices, he pulled up his crypto wallet. The familiar string of numbers offered cold comfort as he listened to his fellow mechanics leave for the day. In the darkening shop, surrounded by the tools of his common profession, Melvin Richards sat alone with his secret millions, wondering when exactly his family had decided that grease-stained hands weren't good enough to hold on to them. Sunday morning dawned with unusual quietness in the Richards household. Melvin sat at the kitchen table, his coffee untouched, watching dust motes dance in the slanted morning light. The familiar sounds of church preparations were absent. No rushed breakfast, no arguing about ties, no scramble for missing him books. The click of heels on hardwood announced Blanca's arrival. She emerged from their bedroom dressed not in her usual Sunday best, but in a tailored brunch outfit that cost more than a week's worth of auto repairs. The kids and I need to talk to you, she announced, her voice carrying the practiced calm of someone who'd rehearsed this moment. Footsteps on the stairs revealed Troy and Christine, both dressed with the same polished affluence as their mother. They positioned themselves behind her like sentries, their faces masks of practiced indifference. I've been wondering when this conversation would happen, Melvin said quietly, noticing a thick envelope on the counter that hadn't been there last night. Legal documents, by the look of the letterhead peeking out. Let's not drag this out. Blanca placed the envelope between them. I want a divorce. The words landed with the weight of a dropped engine block, but Melvin's expression remained unchanged. I assume Julian helped prepare these papers? A flicker of surprise crossed Blanca's face. You knew? Silver Mercedes. Late-night meetings. Mysterious Lakers tickets. Give me some credit. I fix cars for a living. I'm not blind. Troy shifted uncomfortably, but Christine stepped forward. Mom's been miserable for years. Mr. Dyer actually appreciates her enough to help her sneak around? Melvin's voice remained level, his eyes fixed on the envelope. Don't act self-righteous, Blanca snapped. Julian's everything you're not. Successful, sophisticated, ambitious. He's already arranged for us to move into his Beverly Hills estate next week. Beverly Hills, Melvin echoed, thinking of his laptop hidden in the shop, of his digital wallet worth more than any estate. And the kids? We're going with Mom, Troy declared, chin lifted in defiance. Why would we stay in this dump with a loser like you? The word loser echoed in the kitchen's silence. Melvin's hands remained steady as he opened the envelope, scanning the divorce papers inside. The prenuptial agreement they'd signed 17 years ago was attached, a relic from when Blanca's family insisted on protecting their modest assets from the mechanic their daughter had chosen. I had my attorney review everything, Blanca added, producing a pen. Wendell says it's straightforward. I keep my assets, you keep yours. Wendell Blair? Melvin asked, recognizing the lawyer's name from local billboards. Julian's connections again? Just sign the papers, Dad, Christine sighed, already scrolling through her phone. We've got brunch reservations at the Ivy. Melvin studied his children's faces, Troy's contempt, Christine's boredom, the strangers they'd become while he was busy building his secret fortune. He thought of the crypto wallet, of the power he held to shock them all into silence. One bank statement could shatter their assumptions, crush their smugness, change everything. Instead, he picked up the pen. No fight over assets? Wendell Blair asked hours later in his downtown office, surprised by Melvin's easy acceptance. "No claims against Mrs. Richards' investments with Mr. Dyer? Let her keep her assets," Melvin replied, signing the final page. "I'll keep mine." Blanca's triumphant smile faltered slightly at his calm. "That's it? All these years, and you're just letting go? Isn't that what you wanted?" Melvin stood, straightening his old jacket. "A clean break?" "Dad," Troy called as Melvin reached the door. For a moment, something like doubt crossed his son's face. "That's really all you have to say?" Melvin paused, hand on the doorknob. The truth burned in his throat. About the Bitcoin, about the millions, about the future he could give them. But he looked at his family, dressed in their expensive clothes, clustered around Julian Dyer's polished presence, and saw the choice they'd already made. "Your mother's right," he said finally. "You deserve the life you want. The life I apparently couldn't provide." The door closed behind him with a soft click. In the elevator, Melvin pulled out his phone, checking his crypto wallet one last time. The numbers glowed back at him, a secret fortune that could have changed everything. Or perhaps, he realized as the elevator descended, nothing at all. Outside, Los Angeles traffic flowed past Wendell Blair's prestigious office building. Melvin's old truck sat among the luxury cars like a period at the end of a finished sentence. He climbed in, the familiar scent of motor oil and honest work enveloping him. The radio crackled to life with the turn of the key, playing an old song about loss and redemption. Melvin pulled into traffic, leaving behind the polished office tower where his marriage had officially ended. His phone buzzed with messages, probably Oliver checking in, or maybe his soon-to-be ex-family making final demands. He let them go unanswered, driving instead toward his auto shop. There was work to be done, cars to be fixed, and a future to be built, just not the one anyone expected. The gleaming glass facade of the Los Angeles Convention Center reflected the morning sun as Melvin adjusted his newly purchased suit. 6 months had passed since the divorce, and the annual Blockchain Technology Summit marked his first step into a world far removed from engine grease and repair manuals. First crypto conference? A man in his early 30s dropped into the seat beside him during the morning keynote. His laptop displayed complex code sequences. "I'm Brad. Brad Rivas. That obvious, huh?" Melvin smiled, noting Brad's casual confidence in this environment. "The suit." Brad gestured to his own jeans and hoodie ensemble. "We're all about breaking traditional finance norms here. Though I have to say, your wallet address made quite a splash in our developer forums last week." Melvin tensed. "My wallet?" "Relax." Brad lowered his voice. "The beauty of blockchain is transparency. When a dormant whale wallet from 2010 suddenly shows signs of life, people notice. Not many holders from that era still have their keys." Before Melvin could respond, the keynote speaker announced a break. Brad pulled out a business card. "I've got an idea I'd like to run by you. Something that could revolutionize blockchain security." Over lunch in a quiet corner of the conference hall, Brad outlined his vision. His fingers flew across his laptop, showing prototype code for a security protocol that could protect crypto assets from the rising tide of digital threats. "The technology's solid," Brad explained, "but I need someone who understands both the old and new worlds of finance. Someone who held through the early days. And you think that's me? I think you're someone who sees value others miss." Brad's eyes sparked with enthusiasm. "Plus, my background check showed you own an auto repair shop. That tells me you understand systems, troubleshooting, and most importantly, you know how to build trust." The conference room had emptied, leaving them surrounded by abandoned coffee cups and program booklets. Melvin studied Brad's prototype, remembering nights spent learning blockchain technology while his family slept. "Why me? There are bigger investors out there." "Because you're not just an investor." Brad closed his laptop. "You're a builder. I saw your transaction patterns, small, regular Bitcoin purchases over years. That shows patience, vision, and most importantly, you understand value isn't just about quick profits." A notification lit up Melvin's phone, a news alert about Julian Dyer's latest investment success. He silenced it without reading further. "When can you start?" Melvin asked. 3 months later, their blockchain security firm's office occupied the 10th floor of a downtown high-rise. Brad's team of developers worked alongside former cybersecurity experts, creating something unprecedented in the crypto space. Mr. Richards? His new assistant's voice came through the intercom. Iris Casey from Financial Dynamics magazine is here for your appointment. The journalist wasn't what Melvin expected. Instead of the aggressive reporter he'd anticipated, Iris Casey carried herself with quiet intensity, her notebook already open before she sat down. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," she began, "though I suspect you know why I'm here. Enlighten me." She placed a document on his desk, blockchain transaction records. "Your wallet holds one of the largest private Bitcoin fortunes in existence. Yet until 6 months ago, it sat untouched for years. Now you're launching a security firm that's attracting attention from major crypto exchanges. You've done your homework. The interesting part isn't the money." Iris leaned forward. "It's the timing. Right when most early Bitcoin holders were selling, you were quietly buying. Through market crashes, through the mining rewards halving, through every setback, you kept accumulating." Melvin studied her carefully. "What's your angle, Miss Casey?" "The truth." She met his gaze steadily. "The crypto world is full of overnight successes and spectacular failures. But you're neither. You're something far more interesting. Patient capital that finally decided to move." Brad knocked and entered, carrying fresh security protocol tests. He stopped short at seeing the journalist. "Sorry, I didn't realize." "No, stay," Iris said, her eyes lighting up at the sight of the code on his tablet. "I'd love to hear about the technical side." For the next hour, they talked. Brad explained their security innovations while Melvin shared his vision for making cryptocurrency safer and more accessible. Iris's questions were sharp, informed, showing a genuine understanding of blockchain technology. As the interview wound down, she asked one final question. "Why come out of the shadows now? Why not stay anonymous like Satoshi?" Melvin walked to his office window, looking out at the city where his old life felt increasingly distant. "Because sometimes staying hidden means staying small. I'm done with that." After she left, Brad lingered. "You sure about this? Once her article runs, everything changes. Everything already has." Melvin turned back to his desk, where a framed photo once showed his family. Now it displayed the Bitcoin white paper. Time to build something new. His phone buzzed, another news alert about the Dyer's social appearances. This time, he didn't just silence it. He deleted the alert entirely, focusing instead on the security protocol specifications Brad had brought. In the distance, barely visible, stood his auto repair shop, a reminder of where he'd started. But up here, surrounded by the hum of servers and the endless possibilities of blockchain technology, Melvin Richards was finally building the future he'd always seen coming. 5 years had transformed the 10th floor into a testament of digital success. Melvin's blockchain security firm now occupied the entire building, its logo glowing against the Los Angeles skyline. The auto repair shop remained below, though now it served as an innovation lab where Brad's team tested hardware security modules. "Mr. Richards?" His receptionist's voice carried urgency. "There's a Hope Daniel here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent." "About Julian Dyer?" Melvin looked up from the security audit reports on his desk. That name hadn't crossed his path in years, though occasional society page photos of his ex-family's glamorous life still surfaced in local media. "Send her in." Hope Daniel entered like someone used to walking into executive offices, though her nervous energy betrayed her composed exterior. Her designer suit bore yesterday's wrinkles, her manicured nails tapped an anxious rhythm on her portfolio. "Thank you for seeing me," she began, declining the offered seat. "I was Mr. Dyer's executive assistant at Bradford & Associates until yesterday morning." "I resigned after finding these." She placed a USB drive on his desk. "Mr. Richards, the investment firm is a front. Julian's been running a massive Ponzi scheme, and it's about to collapse." Melvin's fingers rested on the drive. "Why come to me?" "Because you're the only one who got out clean." Hope finally sat, exhaustion creasing her features. "Everyone else, your ex-wife, your children, hundreds of clients, they're all trapped in his web. The SEC is closing in, but they're moving too slowly. By the time they act, the money will be gone." The Los Angeles traffic hummed 40 stories below as Melvin considered her words. What makes you think I can help? Because you understand both worlds. Hope pulled out documentation from her portfolio. The traditional finance system that Julian exploited and the blockchain technology that could trace his transactions. Plus, she hesitated. I've seen how he treated your family, used them as props in his social climbing game. Melvin reached for his phone. Brad, come to my office. Bring your forensics team. To Hope, he added. Start from the beginning. Leave nothing out. Over the next hours, Hope unraveled a scheme breathtaking in its audacity. Brad's team worked in real time, following the money trail through a maze of shell companies and offshore accounts. Classic Ponzi structure, Brad explained, projecting his findings. But he's innovated. Used crypto exchanges to wash funds, then reintroduced them as investment returns. Most victims don't realize their profits are just other people's principal. How many victims? Melvin asked. Hundreds. Hope's voice cracked. Including everyone at your ex-wife's firm. Julian convinced them to invest their retirement funds, promising guaranteed returns. But look at this. She pulled up internal documents showing massive withdrawals scheduled for the coming week. He's preparing to run. Once these transfers clear, there'll be nothing left. Melvin studied the transaction schedules. We need verification. Something that'll stand up in court. Already on it. Brad pulled up another screen. I know a PI who specializes in financial fraud. Ex-FBI, works with the SEC guy named Enrique Avery. Make the call. Enrique Avery arrived within the hour, a former federal agent whose casual demeanor belied razor-sharp instincts. He spread Hope's evidence across the conference room table, cross-referencing it with his own sources. Your assistant's right, he confirmed, looking up from his tablet. This is probably the largest private investment fraud I've seen since Madoff. But Julian's smart. He's learned from others' mistakes. Can you prove it? Melvin asked. With what she's provided? Enrique gestured to Hope's documents. It's a start, but we need more. Bank records, internal communications, client lists. I have access to the firm's servers, Hope offered. But only until they process my resignation tomorrow morning. Brad cracked his knuckles. Give me 4 hours with those servers. I'll build a blockchain analysis tool to track every transaction. The night blurred into a frenzy of activity. Brad's team wrote code while Enrique's contacts at the SEC stood ready. Hope guided them through Bradford and Associates' digital infrastructure, her insider knowledge proving invaluable. Dawn broke over Los Angeles as the final pieces fell into place. Enrique spread the completed evidence portfolio across Melvin's desk. It's all here, he announced grimly. Wire transfers, fake account statements, the whole scheme. Julian's been paying old investors with new investors' money, skimming millions off the top. When this breaks, everyone loses everything, Hope finished. Including your children's college funds, Mr. Richards. Julian convinced Blanca to invest all their assets with him. Melvin stared at the city awakening below, remembering Troy's sneering dismissal years ago, Christine's contempt, Blanca's certainty that she'd chosen the better man. How long? He asked. Days, maybe hours, Enrique replied. Once those withdrawals start, Brad leaned forward. We could move faster than the SEC, use our blockchain tools to freeze his crypto assets before he can transfer them offshore. No. Melvin's voice was firm. We do this right. Everything documented, everything legal. He turned to Enrique. How quickly can you get this to your SEC contacts? I can have a team here by noon. Do it. Melvin looked at the evidence of Julian's fraud, the same documents that would shatter his ex-family's gilded life. They chose this path. Now they'll learn where it leads. As his team mobilized, Melvin moved to his private office. Through the window, he could see his old auto repair shop, where he'd first learned the value of honest work. The irony wasn't lost on him. The mechanic they dismissed as beneath them now held the evidence of their downfall. His phone lit up with a message from Iris Casey. Heard rumors about Bradford and Associates. Need to talk. Not yet, he typed back. But soon. Very soon. The headline exploded across every major financial news network. Breaking. Bradford and Associates CEO Julian Dyer arrested in massive investment fraud. Melvin watched from his penthouse office as the story unfolded on multiple screens, each channel racing to outdo the others with revelations of the scandal's scope. The SEC raided their offices an hour ago, Brad reported, tablet in hand. They're calling it the largest investment fraud case of the decade. Estimated losses over $2 billion. The news feeds showed Julian being led out in handcuffs, his perfectly tailored suit wrinkled from the early morning arrest. Behind him, FBI agents carried boxes of documents from Bradford and Associates headquarters. Mr. Richards. His assistant's voice came through the intercom. Hope Daniel is here with the latest updates from the SEC task force. Hope rushed in, her former professional polish replaced by focused intensity. They've frozen all assets connected to Bradford and Associates. The forensic accountants are already going through everything we provided. What about the clients? Melvin asked, though he already knew the answer. Total devastation. Hope pulled up the preliminary report on her tablet. Julian convinced most clients to consolidate all their investments with him. Some lost their entire life savings. The Beverly Hills estate. All the properties marketed as investment opportunities to clients. They're being seized. A different alert caught Melvin's attention. A local news broadcast showing familiar faces. Through the station's cameras, he watched his ex-family being escorted from the Beverly Hills mansion. Christine, now a high school senior, clutched her designer bags while Troy, home from his first semester at USC, argued with the federal agents. All their assets are frozen, Brad confirmed quietly. The investigators found Blanca's signature on several key investment documents. She'll be questioned, though it looks like she was another victim. The elevator chimed, announcing Iris Casey's arrival. The financial journalist who'd been following Melvin's rise in the crypto world now had an even bigger story breaking. I need your statement, she said without preamble, her recorder already running. You were Julian Dyer's connection to this world before he married your ex-wife. Did you see any signs of the fraud? No comment, Melvin replied, but gestured for her to stay. They had an understanding. She'd gotten exclusive access to his legitimate success story, and now she'd have the first detailed account of Julian's downfall. His phone buzzed with notifications. Social media exploded with updates from his children's accounts. Christine's Instagram story showed her tearfully packing her things. Troy's Twitter feed had gone from boasting about his privileged lifestyle to radio silence. The SEC wants to interview you, Hope mentioned, checking her messages. As Julian's former connection to the investment world, they need to establish your non-involvement. Schedule it, Melvin nodded. And get our legal team to prepare all documentation showing the complete separation of our assets since the divorce. Brad's team worked through the day, providing blockchain analysis that helped trace Julian's complex web of cryptocurrency transactions. Each revelation painted a picture of calculated deception spanning years. Look at this, Brad pointed to a transaction timeline. He started small, using early investors' profits to draw in bigger fish. By the time he met your ex-wife, he was already running out of ways to sustain the scheme. The news coverage continued unabated. Interviews with devastated clients, financial experts analyzing the scheme structure, social commentators discussing the implications for Beverly Hills' elite social circle. Through it all, Melvin sat in his office, watching his ex-family's carefully constructed world crumble. Their tuition payments have been flagged, Hope reported late in the afternoon. USC's financial office is reviewing Troy's enrollment. Christine's private school has already suspended her attendance pending payment verification. Iris, who'd been quietly observing and taking notes, finally spoke up. The contrast is striking. While they're being evicted from their mansion, you're sitting in your penthouse office, your blockchain empire more valuable than ever. Planning to comment on the irony? No, Melvin replied, turning to the wall of screens showing the ongoing coverage. The story isn't about me, but it was in a way. Every news report mentioned his connection, the ex-husband who'd chosen a different path, who'd built legitimate success while Julian constructed his house of cards. Sir, his assistant called through the intercom again. Your ex-wife's name is trending on social media. Several news vans are gathering outside the Beverly Hills property. Melvin watched another broadcast showing Blanca being escorted to a waiting car. her designer sunglasses failing to hide her distress. The same woman who dismissed his internet funny money years ago had entrusted everything to Julian's traditional investment schemes. The SEC has scheduled the interview for tomorrow morning, Hope confirmed. They'll want to know about any conversations you had with Julian during the divorce proceedings. Give them everything, Melvin instructed. Every document, every interaction, every detail showing we had no part in his fraud. As evening fell over Los Angeles, the screens in his office continued to flash with updates. Julian's arrest, the frozen assets, the growing list of victims. His phone remained silent. No desperate calls from his ex-family, no pleas for help. Their pride, it seemed, remained intact even as their world collapsed. Iris packed up her notes, pausing at the door. Need anything else for the story? Melvin looked at the city lights below, at the distant outline of his old auto repair shop where it had all started. Just make sure you tell the truth. All of it. The journalist nodded, understanding the layers in his request. Tomorrow, her exclusive story would run alongside the breaking news of Julian's arrest. The contrast would be unavoidable. The honest mechanic who'd built a blockchain empire versus the sophisticated fraudster who destroyed countless lives. But for now, Melvin Richards sat in his penthouse office, watching his ex-family's perfect world crumble on live television, their fall as public as their rise had been elegant. The lesson they'd learned about true value and honest work had come at a devastating price. Manuel Lamb studied the cascade of desperate messages flooding his clients' communications channels. As Melvin Richards' financial advisor, he'd helped structure the crypto empire's rapid expansion, but this morning's task was more personal. Another call from Troy, Manuel reported, tablet in hand. That's the fifth one this week. Christine's Instagram has shifted from her usual content to public appeals for help. And Mrs. Dyer, she's been reaching out through every mutual contact in your address book. Melvin stood at his office window, the same spot where he'd watched Julian's arrest broadcast live 3 weeks ago. Show me. Manuel pulled up Troy's latest voicemail. The speaker filled the office with his son's voice, no longer sneering but cracking with desperation. Dad, please. We need help. Mom's a mess. We're about to be homeless. The FBI seized everything. They're saying Julian used our accounts to move money around. I can't even access my tuition payment for next semester. Please, just call me back. Switching screens, Manuel displayed Christine's Instagram feed. Gone were the poolside photos at the Beverly Hills mansion, replaced by increasingly frantic posts. Can anyone help? We have nowhere to go. All our accounts are frozen. Mom can't stop crying. Dad, if you're seeing this. Mrs. Dyer has been particularly persistent. Manuel continued, scrolling through messages. She's contacted Oliver at the auto shop, Brad at the office, even tried reaching Iris Casey to arrange an interview. And what do you make of all this? Melvin asked, though the slight curve of his lips suggested he already knew his advisor's thoughts. Manuel raised an eyebrow, a gesture perfected over years of navigating the crypto market's volatility. I assume you have a plan? Pull up the Forbes article draft. The document appeared on the wall screen. A comprehensive piece Iris had been working on for months, detailing Melvin's rise in the crypto world. The headline weighted like a loaded gun. From mechanic to crypto billionaire. The incredible journey of Melvin Richards. It's ready to publish whenever you give the word, Manuel noted. Though the timing is interesting. A notification chimed. Another message from Blanca. This time through Hope Daniel. Melvin, please. We've lost everything. The courts have frozen even my personal accounts. Troy might have to drop out of USC. Christine's private school is demanding payment. We don't even have enough for a security deposit on an apartment. Sir, Manuel ventured, considering their situation. Show me the Beverly Hills property listings. Manuel blinked but complied. Julian's seized mansion appeared on screen, now listed for auction by federal authorities. The same house where Troy and Christine had once mocked their father's common profession. The auction's next week, Manuel reported. Given the circumstances, the property will likely sell well below market value. Have our real estate team prepare a bid. Melvin's voice remained neutral, but his eyes held a glint that Manuel recognized from their biggest deals. And contact Gerard Mahoney. Tell him to prepare the paperwork for establishing a charitable foundation. Understanding dawned on Manuel's face. A shelter for victims of financial fraud? Fitting, don't you think? The house Julian used to showcase his stolen wealth, transformed into a refuge for those he destroyed. Another series of notifications lit up the screens. Christine's latest Instagram story showed her packing designer clothes into cardboard boxes. Troy's university email confirmed his enrollment was under review due to unpaid fees. Blanca's attempts to reach out now included a desperate message to Brad Rivas, pleading for an introduction to her ex-husband. Your children, Manuel said carefully. They're trying every channel to reach you.
Yes.
Melvin turned from the window. And soon they'll understand something about karma. Have Flora Watson prepare for Mrs. Dyer's inevitable visit. She'll try to come in person once all other avenues fail. What should Flora tell her? Nothing yet. But have an envelope ready. Just a single piece of paper with a Bitcoin address and transaction record. Manuel's tablet chimed with another update. Troy's voicemail is making rounds on social media. The press is starting to notice the contrast. Julian Dyer's stepchildren begging for help from the father they rejected. Perfect timing for the Forbes article, wouldn't you say? The financial advisor studied his client's composed expression. This was Melvin Richards at his most dangerous. Not angry, not vengeful, but methodically orchestrating a lesson his family would never forget. Should I have Gerard begin drafting the will changes as well? Yes. The foundation will need proper funding. Melvin returned to his desk, where a small photo frame held the only remaining image of his children, from years ago, before wealth and status had poisoned their hearts. Let's show them what real success looks like. As Manuel left to execute the plans, another wave of notifications arrived. Each one a digital reminder of his family's desperation, each message more frantic than the last. Melvin let them accumulate, unmuted and unread, like gathering storm clouds before the deluge. The sun set over Los Angeles, casting long shadows across the office where a former mechanic sat, planning his masterpiece of karmic justice. In his private garage below, beside the Lamborghini he rarely drove, his old toolbox waited, a reminder that some lessons about honest work and true value come at a devastating price. The Forbes article landed with the precision of a calculated strike. Flora Watson, Melvin's executive assistant, watched the digital metrics explode across her monitors as the story went viral. From mechanic to crypto billionaire, trended across every platform, the headline accompanied by a striking photo of Melvin in a bespoke suit, standing before his blockchain empire's headquarters. Mr. Richards, Flora's voice carried through the intercom. Mrs. Dyer is in the lobby. She's quite insistent. Through the security feed, Melvin watched his ex-wife pace the marble floors. Gone were the designer clothes and perfectly manicured appearance. Blanca's haunted eyes darted between her phone, displaying the Forbes article, and the elevator that could take her to her ex-husband's office. Security standing by, Flora added. Should I have them escort her out?
No.
Melvin adjusted his tie, the same one he wore in the Forbes photo. Follow the protocol we discussed. Flora emerged from her desk, approach measured as she faced Blanca. I'm sorry, Mrs. Dyer, but Mr. Richards isn't available. However, he asked me to give you this. The cream-colored envelope felt heavy in Blanca's trembling hands. She tore it open, revealing a single page containing a Bitcoin address and transaction record. Her eyes widened as she processed the numbers. The fortune she'd once dismissed as internet funny money laid bare in cold, digital clarity. This is impossible, Blanca whispered, sinking into a lobby chair. All these years. The records are quite clear, Flora replied, her tone professional. That wallet has been active since 2010, long before the divorce. The security feed captured Blanca's crumpling expression as realization dawned. Every sneering comment about her ex-husband's profession, every dismissal of his crypto investments, every moment their children had mocked his common work. All while he quietly built a fortune that dwarfed Julian's stolen wealth. Please, Blanca stood, her composure cracking. I need to speak with him. Troy's university deadline is tomorrow. Christine's school. We're sleeping in a motel. Mr. Richards' schedule is fully booked, Flora responded, gesturing to a wall screen displaying news coverage of his latest blockchain security initiative. Perhaps you've seen the announcements about his charitable foundation? The elevator dinged, revealing Brad Rivas carrying prototype designs for their newest security protocol. He faltered at the sight of Blanca, but recovered quickly. Mrs. Dyer, he nodded, then turned to Flora. Is he ready for the foundation meeting? Yes, the legal team is already upstairs with the paperwork. Flora's words carried deliberate weight. They're finalizing the trust for underprivileged youth education. Blanca's phone buzzed, Christine sending another desperate text about her school's final warning. The contrast between her current reality and the empire her ex-husband had built struck like a physical blow. The article she managed, it says he's been working with major crypto exchanges, advising on security protocols. All while we thought. Success takes many forms, Mrs. Dyer, Flora replied, picking up the Forbes magazine from her desk. Melvin's cover photo, capturing the quiet confidence of a man who'd built something real. Some less obvious than others. Through the security feed, Melvin watched Blanca clutch the envelope containing proof of his early Bitcoin investments. The same investments she'd mocked years ago over their kitchen table. The lobby television played a financial news segment featuring Iris Casey discussing his rise. What makes the Melvin Richards story remarkable isn't just the wealth. It's the foundation of honest work it's built upon. While others chased quick riches, he combined traditional business ethics with blockchain innovation. Blanca's gaze fixed on the screen, seeing her ex-husband through new eyes. The man she discarded for someone more sophisticated had transformed into a titan of a new financial era. When? She started, then steadied herself. When did he first buy the Bitcoin? According to public blockchain records, Brad answered, unable to resist. Around the same time you told him to stick to fixing cars. The elevator dinged again. This time, Hope Daniel emerged, now carrying a director's badge for Melvin's charitable organization. She paused at the sight of Blanca, their roles dramatically reversed from the days when Blanca had been Julian's prestigious wife. The foundation board is waiting, Hope informed Flora, purposefully avoiding Blanca's gaze. They're excited about the plans for educational initiatives in blockchain technology. Blanca stared at the transaction record in her hands, proof that while she'd been chasing status through Julian's fraudulent wealth, her ex-husband had been quietly revolutionizing digital finance. Flora, Melvin's voice came through the intercom, knowing Blanca would hear. Please remind the board that our mission is helping those who've lost everything to financial fraud. We need to ensure the shelter opens on schedule. The words hung in the air as Blanca realized the full scope of his plans. Her phone buzzed again, Troy's latest plea for help competing with news alerts about his father's billion-dollar empire. Mrs. Dyer, Flora's voice softened slightly. I believe you've received everything Mr. Richards wanted to share. The security team stepped forward, a clear signal. Blanca clutched the envelope, her last connection to the fortune she'd unknowingly walked away from years ago. As the lobby doors closed behind her, the screens above displayed Melvin's latest accomplishment, his blockchain security firm's stock soaring as investors recognized the value of what he'd built. Real value, not the illusions Julian had sold them. Through it all, Melvin watched silently from his office. The old toolbox from his mechanic days displayed prominently beside his cutting-edge crypto mining rigs, a reminder that true worth comes from building something honest, something real. The Forbes article continued to spread across social media, each share a digital echo of the lesson Blanca was learning too late. Sometimes the greatest wealth lies in what others are too proud to see. The auctioneer's gavel fell with a decisive crack. Sold to the Richards Foundation for Financial Education, Julian Dyer seized Beverly Hills Mansion, once a monument to fraudulent wealth, had a new owner. Iris Casey captured the moment for her follow-up article, her camera catching Melvin's expression as he signed the closing documents. Around them, former Bradford and Associates clients watched with mixed emotions as the property changed hands. The shelter will accommodate up to 50 families affected by financial fraud, Melvin announced to the gathered press. Our focus is providing not just housing, but education in financial literacy and blockchain technology. Gerard Mahoney, his attorney, distributed press packets detailing the foundation's mission. The facility will open next month, he explained, deliberately avoiding mention of the property's former owners. We're already reviewing applications from affected families. From across the street, partially hidden behind a news van, Blanca watched the proceedings. Her designer handbag was gone, replaced by a worn leather purse. Behind her, Troy and Christine lingered uncertainly, their former home now transformed into a symbol of their fall. "Mr. Richards," a reporter called out, "your own children are victims of this fraud. Will they be eligible for the shelter services?" A hush fell over the crowd. Melvin adjusted his tie, the same one from the Forbes photo shoot. "The Foundation's board will review all applications without bias. However, I've made other arrangements regarding my personal legacy." Gerard stepped forward, producing a stack of legal documents. "I've been authorized to announce changes to Mr. Richards' estate planning. The primary beneficiaries will be the charitable foundation and a trust dedicated to providing technical education for underprivileged youth." The implications weren't lost on anyone present. Troy's phone slipped from his fingers, clattering on the sidewalk as he processed the news. Christine's attempted Instagram livestream faltered as tears blurred her vision. Brad Rivas guided a group of tech students through the mansion's newly renovated West Wing. "This will be our coding lab," he explained. "We're teaching blockchain development, cryptography, and financial technology, tools for building legitimate wealth." Hope Daniel, now the Foundation's outreach director, organized the first group of families preparing to move in. "Each resident will participate in our education program," she announced, standing where Julian had once hosted lavish parties. "We're turning a symbol of fraud into a beacon of hope." Iris Casey moved through the crowd, gathering quotes for her piece. "The contrast is powerful," she noted in her recorder. "A mechanic's honest work transformed into a crypto empire, now reaching back to help those destroyed by fraudulent finance." The renovation crews worked efficiently, replacing gaudy decorations with practical facilities. Every mirror that had reflected Blanca's social climbing now showed the faces of fraud victims finding new purpose. Each room where Troy and Christine had flaunted their privilege became a classroom for underprivileged students learning digital finance. "Your documentary crew is ready," Flora Watson informed Melvin, gesturing toward the camera team setting up in the mansion's former ballroom. Melvin nodded, straightening his jacket. The cameras rolled as he delivered his message. "Success isn't about the money you have, but the character you build. Some lessons come too late." Outside, Blanca watched her former neighbors arrive with their children, not for a social gathering but for shelter intake interviews. The valet stand where Julian's Mercedes had once parked now held a sign. "Free financial literacy classes. Evening sessions available." Troy made one final attempt, approaching Brad near the entrance. "Please, just tell him we understand now. We were wrong." "Applications for the education program are available online," Brad replied, his tone professional. "The Foundation reviews each case individually." Christine's social media followers watched her last post from the property. No longer a privileged teen showing off her luxury lifestyle, but a humbled young woman facing the consequences of misplaced values. As the sun set over Beverly Hills, the mansion's lights illuminated a new reality. Where Julian had once showcased stolen wealth, homeless families found refuge. Where Blanca had hosted social climbers, students learned about honest work and digital innovation. Where Troy and Christine had sneered at their father's profession, young people discovered the value of building something real. In the private garage of his penthouse across town, Melvin placed his old toolbox beside his Lamborghini. The tools were worn but honest, like the hands that had used them to build an empire while others chased illusions. He picked up a wrench, its weight familiar in his calloused palm, a reminder that true success leaves room for neither pride nor pretense, only the quiet satisfaction of work well done. The security feed showed his ex-family finally leaving the property, their shoulders bent under the weight of understanding. Behind them, the mansion's new sign gleamed. Richards Foundation for Financial Education, building future through digital literacy. Their request for reconciliation would go unanswered, their place in his will now occupied by those who understood the value of honest work. In the end, the mechanic they dismissed had engineered not just his rise, but their most important lesson. Karma, like blockchain, keeps an immutable record of every transaction. A decade had passed since the Richards Foundation transformed Julian Dyer's Beverly Hills mansion into a beacon of hope. The Los Angeles Times 10th anniversary feature opened with a striking comparison, a split image of the property then and now. On one side, Julian Dyer's gaudy showcase of stolen wealth. On the other, a thriving educational center that had helped thousands rebuild their lives. 10 years of transformation. The Richards legacy read the headline of Iris Casey's latest piece. Now editor-in-chief of Financial Dynamics magazine, she sat in her office reviewing archived footage for an upcoming documentary. Julian Dyer, once the toast of Beverly Hills society, appeared on screen in his prison jumpsuit during a parole hearing. Denied for the third time, Iris narrated. The man who orchestrated one of the largest Ponzi schemes in Los Angeles history continues, serving his 25-year sentence at Federal Correctional Institution, Lompoc. The camera panned to Blanca Dyer, Julian's last victim of deception. The footage showed her leaving a small apartment in Van Nuys, her once perfect appearance replaced by the worn look of someone who'd learned life's hardest lessons. She worked as a receptionist at a local dental office, her executive assistant credentials tainted by association with Bradford and Associates scandal. Mrs. Dyer declined our request for an interview, Iris noted in her article. Sources say she still attends weekly financial literacy classes at a community center, though notably not at the Richards Foundation, where her application was politely declined 5 years ago. Across town, in a bustling USC classroom, Professor Brad Rivas lectured on blockchain security. And that's why verification is crucial, he explained to his students. Just ask Troy Richards Dyer, though you'll have to visit the downtown branch of AutoZone to do it. The classroom rippled with understanding. Troy's fall from privileged university student to auto parts store clerk had become a cautionary tale in Brad's lectures. After losing his USC enrollment, Troy had struggled through community college, his dreams of following Julian's footsteps into high finance shattered by the reality of his stepfather's crimes. Christine's story took a different turn. The security feed at the Richards Foundation occasionally caught her attending public blockchain seminars, sitting quietly in the back. Her Instagram influence had evaporated with her family's wealth, but she'd slowly rebuilt a modest following sharing stories of financial responsibility and the dangers of material obsession. The foundation has graduated over 5,000 students from its crypto education program, Hope Daniel reported during the anniversary celebration. As outreach director, she'd watched families rebuild their lives through honest work and digital literacy. Many of our earliest residents now work in legitimate financial technology firms. Melvin's empire had grown beyond cryptocurrency. The Richards blockchain security protocol had become the industry standard, protecting digital assets worth billions. But his old auto repair shop remained operational, now serving as both a working garage and a training facility for vocational students learning to combine traditional skills with emerging technology. The most valuable lesson, Manuel Lamb explained to a group of foundation trustees, isn't about getting rich. It's about building something real. The financial advisor had watched his clients' wealth multiply, but more importantly, he'd seen the impact of karma delivered through calculated kindness. Oliver Fink, retired from active mechanics but still a regular at the shop, often shared stories with new apprentices. I remember when he worked under these same lifts, he'd say, pointing to where Melvin had first checked his crypto wallet. Character shows in how you handle both riches and wealth. In her corner office at the Times, Iris reviewed recent photographs. Flora Watson, still Melvin's executive assistant, appeared in several, coordinating the foundation's expanding initiatives. Gerard Mahoney's legal team had just finished establishing the 20th regional chapter of the education program. The most poignant image showed an unexpected detail. Christine volunteering at a foundation event, not as a Richards, but as an anonymous helper, learning the value her father had tried to teach years ago. Her application to the foundation's mentorship program sat pending on Hope's desk, marked for review. Through it all, Melvin Richards maintained his dual legacy. The Forbes Blockchain 50 cover showed him in another impeccable suit, but his garage still saw him every Saturday, teaching young mechanics about both carburetors and cryptocurrency. The mansion changed more than just its owners, Enrique Avery noted in his FBI retirement speech. The former investigator had joined the foundation's board, using his experience to help other fraud investigators. It changed how we view success. The documentary footage ended with a quiet scene. Blanca walking past the foundation's gates, pausing to watch a group of students learning about digital finance in what was once her luxury dining room. The camera caught her expression, not bitter, but finally understanding. In the foundation's main hall, where Julian had once hosted champagne galas, a simple plaque carried Melvin's message: "True wealth builds others up. False wealth tears everything down." Below it, a worn toolbox sat displayed in a glass case, a reminder that every empire worth building starts with honest work. Troy's latest job application to the Foundation's maintenance team joined Christine's mentorship request in the system. Neither bore the Richards name. Both would be evaluated purely on merit. Flora had flagged them for Melvin's review, but his response remained the same: "Let them learn like everyone else." 10 years, Iris concluded her anniversary piece, have proven that karma, like blockchain, is transparent and immutable. The Richards Foundation stands as testament not just to one man's success, but to the enduring power of integrity over pretense. As the Los Angeles sun set over the former Dyer mansion, now a symbol of redemption through education, security cameras caught a familiar scene. Blanca watching from across the street as another group of fraud victims found shelter within its walls. Her designer bags were long gone, replaced by a simple purse containing brochures from various financial literacy programs. In his penthouse office, Melvin reviewed the Foundation's latest impact report. The data showed thousands of lives rebuilt, millions in legitimate wealth created through honest work and digital innovation. Beside his desk, that old wrench still held its place of honor, a reminder that true value isn't in what you own, but in what you build. The epilogue of the Richards story played out daily across Los Angeles. In Troy's quiet work at AutoZone, in Christine's cautionary social media posts, in Blanca's modest apartment with its view of the life she'd lost. Julian's prison cell contained only photos of the wealth he'd stolen, while Melvin's empire continued growing through the value he'd created. Success, as his documentary had stated, isn't about the money you have, but the character you build. Some lessons come too late. But for the thousands of students passing through the Foundation's doors, learning the right lessons at the right time, Melvin's revenge had transformed into something far more valuable. Redemption through education, growth through understanding, and the quiet satisfaction of karma served not cold, but with opportunity for change. The final footage showed Melvin in his private garage, teaching his youngest group of apprentices. The Lamborghini gleamed beside them, but it was the toolbox that commanded attention. Worn, honest, and still in daily use. Like blockchain itself, some truths remain immutable. Character outlasts wealth, integrity outlives pretense, and the sweetest revenge is a life well lived. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.